they discovered 7 shocking biblical things you must abandon for true enlightenment. Few knew what truly happened that night in the dark valley. Whispers of treachery blended with the cold winds. A moment frozen in time as the shadows danced upon ancient stones. The flickering torchlight revealed fear etched on faces, a sense of something powerful trembling on the edge of revelation. It was in the heart of Jerusalem, amidst the ruins of a once grand temple, that a sacred truth lay buried. King David's legacy crackled with potential. Yet, within that legacy was a secret reminder to abandon the burdens that held one captive in the twilight of doubt. Some say it was a night full of voices, arguing passionately about what must be released: pride, anger, greed, ignorance. Each like a chain binding one spirit. And then there was the ghostly tale of the great Jonah. Inside the belly of a fish, he pondered deep truths. Scripture tells of a man who fled his calling. But what if fleeing was merely the first step towards ultimate enlightenment? That revelation lingered in the air like an electrifying charge. What forests of despair did he traverse, buried alive in the depths, before emerging into light? As the whispers grew louder, a vivid image of Moses at the burning bush flickered in mind. Was it really fire that spoke only to him? Or was it the flame of fear flickering in all of our hearts? The desert was unforgiving, yet it was there amidst the towering dunes that Moses was compelled to shed his faltering self. What does he abandon to embrace destiny? Echoed like a drumbeat, words stumbled out like stones from a shaken jar. What if the very messages passed down through generations were shackles in disguise? Could the mighty walls of Jericho, so famous for their collapse, illustrate the relinquishment of fortified beliefs? What binds us is often masked as security. Tension thickened like fog, heavy with ignorance that shrouded enlightenment. Stories spread through the gathering crowd, tales of lost souls regaining their strength through surrender. In hushed tones, they spoke of a path needing no map, merely the courage to walk. Eyes darted across the dark landscape. Could true faith demand the surrender of certainty, comfort, and the familiar? And so, in that eerie silence, faced with such profound mysteries, one question reverberated through their minds: what else had they unknowingly held on to, all while searching for the light? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night deepened, a shroud of quiet contemplation encircled the gathering. Beneath the star-filled sky, the flickering torchlight painted faces with shadows, echoing the inner turmoil of their spirits. With each heartbeat, the air thickened with the resonance of ancient truths. Where ancient stones had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, they now held the whispers of those searching for liberation. Among the assembly stood Eliab, a humble shepherd whose heart had grown heavy with the weight of his unexpressed doubts. He had wandered all his life, tending to flocks while nurturing the seeds of questions that sprouted like wildflowers in his mind. What must I sacrifice to step into the light of purpose? He pondered silently. Not far from him, Miriam, a wise yet troubled woman, turned her gaze toward the distant horizon, where the first signs of dawn threatened to emerge. For her, the shadows of the past loomed large, memories wrapped in grief and regret, secrets held close, scars treated with bandages of denial. Is surrender truly the path to healing? She whispered, the tremor in her voice betraying a steadfast exterior. A figure approached Eliab, the flickering torch illuminating the face of Nathan, an old friend who wore the wisdom of many seasons like a mantle. His eyes sparkled with an inner light as he spoke, his voice low yet filled with a resonant urgency. What if the burdens we carry are but reflections of our fears and desires? Can we ever lay them aside without knowing what we truly seek? Eliab nodded, a slight chill creeping down his spine. He felt both drawn to and repelled by the idea of shedding his burdens. But what then remains? A void. An emptiness that life itself cannot fill. With a knowing smile, Nathan gestured toward the ruins behind them, the remnants of the temple standing sentinel over their dialogue. Every stone once housed sacred secrets. When the temple fell, it was not only its physical form that crumbled, but the weight of expectation, perhaps. In releasing what anchors us, we must uncover the essence of what it means to be free. The enormity of Nathan's words stirred something within Eliab, a gentle awakening. The thought of allowing himself to embrace uncertainty danced like the flames before them. And yet, lingering questions drifted like smoke into the night. Could truly embracing uncertainty lead him closer to the divine? Did freedom not come at the cost of his known identity? Meanwhile, in the far corner of the crowd, a weathered elder named Johanan sat cross-legged upon the earth, listening intently. His thoughts drifted to the sacred stories of old of the Israelites and their exodus from Egypt. They had liberated themselves from chains, yet as they wandered, did they not also grapple with their own fears of the unknown? Perhaps the greatest obstacle lies not in the abandonment of the old, he pondered aloud, but in the dawning awareness of who we might become without them. His voice grew stronger, resonating through the assembly like the tolling of a distant bell. What bridges must we cross, and what valleys must we traverse, if we choose to rise beyond the ashes of what we have known? The gathering remained silent, each individual wrestling with their reflections. A palpable tension hung in the air, a mixture of fear and hope, the duality of the journey ahead palpable to all who listened, and as the first few rays of dawn began to streak across the sky, illuminating the ancient stones with a warm glow, a question lingered persistently in their hearts: could the act of letting go lead to deeper enlightenment, or would it merely unravel the very fabric of their existence? As the radiant light of the dawn unfolded, the assembly felt a collective draw towards the rising sun, as if it summoned them beyond the confines of their fears. Eliab stood, emboldened, reflecting on the words of Johanan and Nathan. The shadows that had haunted him seemed to shift, transforming into something other than mere burdens. They shimmered like the morning dew on grass, momentarily beautiful before evaporating into the day ahead. In this reflective space, Miriam felt a stirring within her heart, the familiar ache of her past mingling with a flicker of hope. What if in our wounds we find our wounds healing? She pondered aloud, breaking the silence that enveloped the crowd. By confronting the sorrows we have carried, can we weave a new tapestry of resilience? The crowd turned toward her, their eyes flickering with curiosity. Her voice, though soft, held the strength of buried wisdom. Many of us cling to our pain as if it defines us. But what if we dare to reframe our narrative? What if we embrace the very scars that tell our story, learning from them instead of being bound by them? Eliab felt compelled to respond. But, dear Miriam, can we truly heal without letting go of the past? Is it not a part of our fabric, woven deeply into who we are? The question stirred the thoughts of those gathered, their expressions searching for clarity amidst the swirling mists of uncertainty. As if summoned by their contemplation, an unexpected rustling emerged from the edge of the encampment. The crowd turned to see a young girl, no older than 16, stepping hesitantly from the shadows. Her hair was wild with tangles, and her face bore a haunting mixture of calmness and urgency. I have something to share, she said, her voice unwavering despite the tremors of apprehension beneath. I've been listening. I have seen the burdens we carry, and I believe we can find strength in our vulnerability. The gathering leaned in, intrigued by the girl's unexpected presence. She continued, when I lost my mother, I too was consumed by grief and fear. I thought that if I let go of her memory, I would lose her forever. But with time, I discovered that holding on to her pain kept me in a cage of despair. It wasn't until I acknowledged my sorrow that I learned to love myself anew, to carry her memory with me, not as a shackle, but as a light leading me forward. Conflicted yet inspired, Johanan raised his hand, seeking to ground the conversation in the wisdom of ages past. The stories of our ancestors continue to guide us. Think of Abraham, who was called to leave his homeland. He went forth, not knowing where he would end up. In his journey to the unknown, he found purpose and identity anew. Are we not all called to follow our own paths, to leave behind that which no longer serves us? The sun climbed higher, casting rays of warmth that embraced the assembly, igniting a spark deep within their collective heart. Eliab felt a surge of emotion, his heart thumped like a drum, resonating the call to embrace the unknown. But even as the idea blossomed, a shadow settled in his mind. If we choose to release our past, how do we recognize the voices of wisdom amidst the chatter of uncertainty? What if, in seeking release, we lose the very essence of what shaped us? The question lingered in the air, casting a veil of contemplation over the group. They exchanged glances, grappling with the duality of their reflections, the promise of freedom intermingling with the fear of obliteration. Each had their own internal struggle, threading together a rich tapestry of experiences, hopes, and fears. The girl smiled gently, sensing the weight of their inquiry. Then perhaps, dear ones, we must learn to listen to the still, small voice within. In the quiet moments of reflection, amidst the tumult of uncertainty, there lies a melodious whisper revealing the next step on our journey. But what tunes must we learn to embrace? What old beliefs and attachments must we part with, for the music to flow freely in our souls, as the sun brightened the world around them, shaking loose the remnants of night? The assembly fell deep into thought. Would they uncover the strength to embark upon their own journeys of transformation? Or would the fear of the unknown tether them to the past? The path ahead glimmered with possibility, yet remained cloaked in questions that awaited answers, leading them to ponder once more, what must we abandon to awaken to the fullness of life? As the warm embrace of the sun washed over the assembly, illuminating their faces with a golden glow, a hush fell upon them. Each person held their breath, suspended in a moment of collective introspection. The girl's eyes sparkled like the sun reflecting on water, inviting them deeper into the realm of possibility. It begins with recognition, she said, her voice gentle yet profound. We must uncover the layers we've built around our hearts. Each fear, each sorrow, is like a stone, weighing us down, shaping our existence. But what if we viewed these stones not as burdens, but as stepping stones toward enlightenment? Miriam, inspired by the girl's words, felt a pull from within. What if we faced our stones, one by one? What if we shared not just the pain they caused, but the wisdom they imparted? A murmur of understanding rippled through the crowd. Oh, but to confront one's stones, Johanan interjected, is to lean into discomfort. How many of us are willing to step into the fire of our truths, knowing it may burn? We must ask ourselves, is the comfort of familiarity stronger than the fear of the unknown? Eliab closed his eyes momentarily as he processed Johannan's words, envisioning his own stones, each one a memory, a wound, a lesson unlearned. But if we do venture into that fire, he said slowly, how do we recognize what is true and what is merely an echo of our past fears? The girl stepped closer, her presence like a guiding breeze. We must step into that fire with intention, intent to learn, to grow. The flames will reveal what must be released, and what must be cherished. And in that sacred space, we may find clarity through discomfort. How can the heart mend without first experiencing the heat of the forge? A silence enveloped them. Questions hung thick in the air, dense yet liberating. With each heartbeat, the atmosphere around them crackled with potential. They were teetering on the edge of transformation, a threshold laden with both promise and trepidation. Let us share, the girl proposed, and her words resonated like a call to action. What stones do we carry? What fears have shaped our narratives? For in the act of sharing, we may find that we are not alone in our struggles. We may discover that the very stones we thought divided us are the same ones that bind us together. One brave soul from the crowd stepped forward, his voice shaky yet firm. I lost my wife to illness, he began, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I held on to my pain as if it were all I had left of her. It consumed me, turning my nights into shadows. It was only through sharing my pain that I found connection. Through community, I learned that love lives on in shared stories. Another, emboldened by his courage, added, I fear I am unworthy. My past mistakes loom over me like storm clouds, casting doubt on my worthiness of love and grace. The assembly could feel the weight of those words, an echo of a struggle many could understand. Miriam nodded, her heart aching with empathy. Perhaps in sharing our stones, we begin to transform them into something beautiful. Perhaps they can become foundations upon which we build a new legacy. As stories began to unfold, the atmosphere shifted, vulnerability wove a fragile but powerful tapestry among them. Each revelation seemed to chip away at the stones, revealing glimmers of hope buried underneath. Yet, despite this newfound courage, Eliab remained still, a reflective frown on his face. But what if our shared stories are not enough? He questioned, the doubt creeping in like shadows at dusk. What do we do when the courage to share does not soothe our wounds, but instead surfaces deeper scars? Is it possible to share our truths and still feel lost? A hush fell again, the assembly absorbing Eliab's words carefully. The girl gazed at him, her expression unyielding yet tender. Then we must seek to accompany each other through the storm. Perhaps the journey is not about having the answers, but about walking alongside one another in the uncertainty. Can we cultivate patience with ourselves and each other as we navigate the depths of healing? As the sun began its slow descent, casting warm hues across the sky, the assembly felt the weight of their questions deepening once more. They had begun to uncover layers, reach into their hearts, and confront their fears. Yet, as night approached, a lingering thought took root. In this journey of shared pain and emerging strength, what happens when darkness sets in? And how will they continue to find light when all hope seems lost? As the shadows grew longer, an air of anticipation enveloped the gathering like a cloak. The girl sensed the collective weight of their yearning, a desire not just to share their burdens, but to transcend them. Dearest friends, she began, her voice steady, in our quest for enlightenment, we must also face less spoken truths, things we might cling to that, paradoxically, bind us further. What needs to be abandoned on this path? A ripple of curiosity danced through the crowd, eyes wide with both hope and apprehension. The concept of abandonment felt like standing on the brink of a great precipice. What might they have to release to truly ascend? Miriam, a spirit ignited by this new direction, spoke up. Perhaps we should begin with our attachments, those we hold tightly to, believing they define us. I've realized that my need for approval kept me chained to my fears. She paused, reflecting on her journey. In the clutches of trying to please everyone, I lost touch of my own voice. Johanna nodded gravely. Yes, the burdens of expectation weigh heavy. For years, I chased the approval of my father, believing I needed to measure up to his dreams. In doing so, I disregarded the calling that lay within me. His voice trembled with conviction now. To abandon that expectation, could it free me to embrace my true purpose? No doubt. The girl interjected, her expression emblematic of deep compassion. To relinquish these claims is to forge a path freely chosen, one where we stand not on the ground of others' hopes, but our own. With a firm voice, Eliab spoke cautiously, but what if we are reluctant to abandon these ties? What if fear holds us in its grip? I fear the unknown more than the pain I already carry. The crowd fell silent, echoing his sentiment. His struggle felt shared, a murmur of acknowledgement rippling through the assembly. The unknown may seem daunting, but remember, the girl said softly, every precious journey begins with a step into the unfamiliar. Could it be that the very things we fear losing are the weights we are meant to shed? What awaits us on the other side of our resistance? As the dusk deepened, the air thick with contemplation, several others began to share. One woman spoke of a lifelong battle with anger, a stone she had carried for too long. It has festered within, dictated my responses. To abandon my right to be angry, I fear it will mean giving away my power, she confessed, pain etched into her features. A powerful avowal, the girl replied gently. But consider, does our anger protect us, or does it merely shield us from deeper vulnerability? In seeking to release it, might we instead reclaim the true power of compassion? Slowly, the group began to resonate with the idea that what they might need to leave behind was not simply heavy stones, but deep-seated fears of vulnerability, isolation, and grief. They were not alone, their journeys intertwined, revealing a web of common humanity. Yet amid these revelations, a sudden unease washed over Miriam. As we speak of these things to abandon, I cannot help but wonder what if abandoning our stones leads us to grieve not only those burdens but also the comfort of familiarity they provided us. What if surrender feels like loss? The girl looked earnestly at Miriam, her eyes reflecting the dust's fading light. You are right to question this. It is a paradox we must embrace. Letting go can feel like losing, but perhaps it is only a transformation into something greater. The letting go is itself a passageer purging of what no longer serves. What, then, might we discover in our emptiness? The assembly, though contemplative, now felt transfixed by the possibilities that began to unfold before them. Each person wrestled not only with what to abandon, but the deeper implications of loss and rebirth on their paths toward enlightenment. As the twilight settled in, another shadow crossed their minds, lingering like an uninvited guest. In their pursuit of enlightenment, how do they navigate the vulnerability of transformation when tied so closely to both pain and comfort? And as the night closed in around them, what light could they find in the darkness that followed such profound letting go? As the gathered souls sat draped in the embrace of night, a contemplative silence encased their thoughts. It was Eliab, who, unable to shake the tumult of emotion that swirled within, finally voiced the uncertainty felt by many. If we are to embrace this path of release, he began, his voice wavering, what if there are shadows within us, dark thoughts and unkind impulses that we do not even recognize? Could it be that our very identities are intertwined with these unnoticed fragments? The girl's gaze sharpened, her expression encouraging yet solemn. Indeed, Eliab. The shadows often hide in corners we'd rather not explore. To tread lightly in this darkness, we must also examine the unseen parts of ourselves, the resentments we harbor, the self-judgments we cultivate, and the fears that whisper lies to us. Where might we see the truth lurking beneath our facades? A hush fell over the assembly, their minds swirling with unanswered questions. Johannan leaned forward, a spark of recognition dawning, and spoke earnestly. I have always felt a gnawing resentment towards others, especially toward those who seem to achieve what I crave but do not earn. Could it be, then, that this resentment binds me far more tightly than I imagine? What if I were to see them through a lens of gratitude instead, recognizing their success as a reflection of possibility rather than a threat? Nods rippled through the crowd, and the girl alluded to a deeper mystery in Johannan's insight. Yes, and in acknowledging this shift, you may find that gratitude is a bridge not only to your own liberation but also to connection. In abandoning resentment, what warmth of fellowship might blossom in its place? Yet another voice emerged, trembling yet curious. It was the woman who had spoken of anger before. but relinquishing such fears feels monumental. If we lay down our blame and bitterness, might we reveal vulnerabilities that feel exposed, leaving us open to injury again? The risk of vulnerability is indeed profound, the girl responded, her tone imbued with tenderness. But consider this essential truth, to be seen in our truest form flawed yet whole might invite healing. Is it not in our most raw states that authenticity thrives, allowing genuine connection to flourish? What then, do we forfeit if we choose protection of the status quo over the bravery to risk openness? The crowd sat in tense silence, wrestling with the profound implications of her words. They felt the weight of possibility heavy in the air. Miriam finally gathered her courage. What you say is wise, yet I am left with a lingering doubt. If these shadows truly represent aspects of ourselves that are too painful to confront, what happens to the parts we may need to protect? How do we discern when to abandon something that no longer serves, and when to hold on to aspects that provide safety? The girl's eyes glimmered in the twilight. You raise a crucial point, Miriam. The journey of discernment is not always clear. In every act of release, there lies a question we must ask ourselves: does this feeling or thought serve my growth, or does it merely anchor me to the past? Sometimes, the very act of examining such feelings reveals pathways to the very truths we seek. As they contemplated this notion, a flicker of a distant storm grumbled in the heavens, an echo of the internal turbulence brewing within each person present. They found themselves at a crossroads, to courageously confront the unknown in the hidden shadows, or retreat to the familiarity that held them captive. With the night deepening, a shared thought hovered unspoken, a poignant reminder: if they were to embark on this journey of enlightenment, how would they brave the storms of their spirits and yield their cherished certainties to the winds of change? And could it be, in embracing the unknown, they might discover resilience beyond their current understanding? As the night wore on, the flickering starlight cast ethereal patterns across the faces of the assembled group. Their hearts echoed with the weight of discussion, yet the air remained thick with unresolved tension. Each individual wrestled with their own inner battles, the shadows towering like unseen giants just beyond the reach of their understanding. Perhaps, Johannan began, breaking the trance, it is in the chaos of our thoughts that we find a clearer path. The storm we fear may serve a purpose. Just as the earth needs rain to renew and grow, might our souls not also require the tumult to unearth our deepest truths? His suggestion sparked a flicker of hope. The girl nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, Johannan. The tempest of our emotions might be the catalyst for transformation. Yet, we must tread carefully, being mindful of the authentic roots from which we spring. What must we unearth, and what should we preserve? Each decision is a seed sown into the soil of our being. A new voice emerged, one that had been silent until this moment, a man whose brow weighed heavy with worry. But what about the burdens we carry for the sake of others? Should we not also consider whether our ties to them, their expectations and disappointments, are shackles rather than shared anchors? In the light of this inquiry, how do we disentangle our own journeys from their demands? A profound silence enveloped the group as they contemplated this. The girl's eyes met his, reflecting a shared understanding. You present an essential truth. Often, we find ourselves tethered to the dreams of those we love, mistaking their hopes for our own. To release another's weight is not to abandon them, it is to allow them, and ourselves, the freedom to grow. The murmurs of agreement rose softly among the gathered souls. Miriam turned her gaze toward the heavens, where flashes of distant lightning illuminated the clouds. Yet, must we not confront our fears of being perceived as selfish in such an act of release? Are not the threads of connection woven tightly by expectation and duty, leading us to believe that to sever those ties would be a betrayal? A somber realization settled over them, and the girl spoke gently yet firmly. To discern whether our actions are selfish or altruistic requires deep reflection. In every connection, we must ask ourselves if the bonds we hold bring us nourishment or deplete our spirits. It is not selfishness to pursue one's own light, on the contrary, nurturing one's own flame offers warmth to those around us. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves and sending a shiver through the gathered assembly. For a fleeting moment, it felt as if the storm itself was sending them a message. A query arose in the depths of Elias' heart, barely above a whisper. But how do we know we have truly discerned our needs from the encumbrances of others? What if the very act of releasing brings about a solitude we have yet to fathom? Or, the girl answered, solitude does not equate to loneliness. It is often in the quiet spaces of our lives that we hear the echo of our own heart's desires most clearly. To seek solitude may feel daunting, yet it provides an opportunity for introspection and opening to explore what it means to embrace our authentic selves without the noise of expectation clouding our vision. As the girl spoke, the storm drew closer, the sky thick with impending rain. They could feel the weight of tension building, a reflection of the heaviness in their hearts. Each stood on the precipice of realization, grappling with the goal of enlightenment while fearing the depths they might need to plumb, and then, an idea took root in Eliab's mind. If we are to abandon that which no longer serves us, how can we ensure we cultivate what is worthy to take its place? What practices or rituals can we embrace to guide us in nurturing the light within us even as we confront the shadows? Their thoughts dance between the potential for release and the uncertainty of what the future would hold, heavier than the looming storm. Each felt the stirring of an internal Kellen exploration of their boundaries, fears, and potential. A journey neither simple nor straightforward. With this uncertainty looming, a profound question lingered in the air, unaddressed. In the quest for true enlightenment, how must they navigate the balance between release and renewal, and what will emerge from the depths of that daunting exploration? As the murmur settled, the group felt a weight carried not just among themselves, but within the very fabric of their existence. The sky darkened, and a low rumble of thunder echoed from the distance, as if the heavens themselves were attuned to their profound deliberations. Each of them sensed that something was stirring at the edges of their consciousness, urging them to listen more intently, not just to the words being spoken but to the silence that reverberated between. Miriam broke the stillness, her voice soft yet resolute. Have we paused to consider the power of our past? Each memory, each scar, and shadow we carry shapes our perception of both ourselves and the world around us. What if the key to true enlightenment lies not just in identifying what we must release, but also in understanding the fullness of all that we have been? A ripple of contemplation spread through the group. Johanan nodded. True. Without acknowledging our history, how can we forge a path toward our future? Each moment of joy and sorrow, each connection and separation, is a stepping stone laid before us, providing the grounding necessary for our journey ahead. The girl's brow furrowed as she pondered their reflections. We often forget that we are not simply the sum of our experiences, rather, within our trials lies a treasure trove of wisdom. Can we not embrace these remnants of our past, not to drag them into our present burdens, but to acknowledge their role in forming our resilience? The air thickened, laden with anticipation. Elijah glanced at the gathering clouds, imagining the storm reflecting the tumult within. What, then, do we do with the pain that lingers? How do we transmute anguish into strength when it threatens to cripple us? A voice, steady and ancient, broke through the tumult. It belonged to the man who had first spoken of burdens, his gaze unwavering. Perhaps the answer lies in our capacity for forgiveness. Not just of others but of ourselves. Can we release the chains of regret and guilt that bind us? Could it be that forgiveness is the balm needed for our spiritual liberation? It requires courage, yes, but it also demands compassion, not just for those who have wronged us but for our own missteps. Miriam's eyes shone with understanding. Forgiveness, then, becomes a daily practitioner act of grace that nurtures our soul. When we forgive, we do not condone the past, rather, we embrace the possibility of moving forward unencumbered. Could it be the very act of letting go transforms our hearts and minds, breathing life into our quest for clarity? A hush settled once again over the group, punctuated only by the distant clap of thunder, a reminder of nature's unpredictable whims. Johanan gazed upward, as if seeking answers in the swirling storm. But as we confront the act of forgiveness, what of the anger and sorrow we feel? Should we not honor these emotions, allowing them space to manifest? Are they not part of the authentic process of releasing what no longer serves? The girl nodded, her expression contemplative. Indeed, anger can serve as a compass, leading us toward the hurt that requires healing, while sorrow can be the doorway to deeper understanding. Yet, what of our tendency to cling to these feelings? Might we become so accustomed to their presence that we mistake them for our identity? Or, yes, the man interjected, his head lowered in thought. Yet, grappling with our emotions is not an easy endeavor. In our struggle to break free from their hold, do we risk being swept away by the very storm we wish to navigate? As the wind howled with renewed vigor, each member of the assembly felt the reality of their journey weighing more heavily upon them. The storm that raged on the horizon mirrored the internal battle's chaotic whirlpool of uncertainty, fears, and uncharted potential. In that moment, a new understanding shimmered in the stillness that followed, leading them to consider their next steps. The question lingered among them, begging exploration, in seeking to cultivate forgiveness and embrace our past without losing ourselves in emotion. How do we remain steadfast on our path to enlightenment amid life's relentless storms? The winds howled around them, twisting through the branches that loomed overhead like the watchful eyes of ancient spirits. The group felt a yearning pull towards the heart of the storm, a place where revelation and chaos danced in harmony. As they leaned into this moment of uncertainty, a profound silence fell among them again, as if the universe was holding its breath along with them. Perhaps, Miriam whispered, her gaze focused on the darkening sky, the storm carries a lesson. It is as if nature herself is beckoning us to confront the tempests within. Each gust and crash mirrors our own turbulent emotions, but can we view these dissonances as opportunities for growth rather than barriers? A realization sparked life within the crowd. Johannes' fingers brushed against the damp earth beneath him. What if these storms are not external threats but reflections of our internal disequilibrium? He pondered aloud. Every gust, every crack of thunder, serves as a catalyst for our transformation, a call to witness the tempest of our souls rather than shy away from it. Encouraged by the thought, the girl straightened, her spirit ignited. Then our past does not serve as a prison after all, but as an invitation to dance with our intricate history, to engage with it, embrace it, and emerge renewed. And yet, how often do we fail to honor this sacred process? Instead, we cling tightly to our old wounds, fearing that to let go means to forget. Exactly. Elijah exclaimed, his voice echoing amidst the gusts of wind. We must find balance in our quest. Let us not dismiss our hurt while simultaneously refusing to let it define us. Instead, can we cradle our past with both reverence and courage? In recognizing its role, we can start to unravel the threads binding us. As a vivid flash of lightning split the sky above, the group's hearts raced. Miriam felt the ground beneath her shake, an electrifying reminder of nature's raw power. But what of those damp ties that shackle us to despair? You speak of freedom, yet the weight of sorrow can often feel like an anchor. Can we truly break free from its encumbering grasp? The ancient men returned to the forefront. To unshackle ourselves from pain requires not just acknowledgement but also a conscious choice to release. It's a deliberate act of breaking patterns that no longer serve us, much like the trees that shed their leaves in anticipation of renewal. How then do we choose to let go with grace, instead of grappling with the haunting echoes of what we leave behind? The intensity of the storm intensified, encasing them in a cocoon of sound and fury. Each crackle of thunder seemed to echo the weight of their contemplation, the enormity of their challenge drawing them closer together. The girl spoke again, her voice steady despite the chaos. If forgiveness is the balm we seek, how do we apply it when the scars feel so fresh? We may yearn for liberation, but with each act of letting go, do we not also risk reopening wounds? Johannes' brow furrowed, lost in thought. And what if, in our journey to release pain, we fracture our heartstrings? Might not forgiveness lead to the unprecedented questioning of relationships and values we once held dear? How do we know what to hold on to and what to relinquish? Silence enveloped them once more, each member grappling with their uncertainties as the thunder rumbled in agreement. As they pondered the depth of these questions, the tempest outside mirrored their inner dialogue, a swirling aim of discovery layered with trepidation. In that moment, through the haze of doubts and fears, a thought shimmered through the tempest. In striving toward forgiveness while still honoring our wounds, are we prepared to navigate the complexity of our own hearts, to shed what no longer serves us, and to embrace the true essence of who we are meant to be even amid the most violent storms? As the night deepened, a palpable tension filled the air, vibrating with unspoken fears and uncharted hope. Each person present trembled beneath the weight of their own reflections, wrestling with the paradoxes of release and attachment, pain and healing. The storm outside mirrored the storm within, a tumultuous blend of longing and trepidation. Yet, amid this turmoil, a whispered revelation awaited the assembly. Poised on the edge of transformation, Eliab closed his eyes, inhaling deeply as he surrendered to the rhythms of the chaotic world around him. The voices of his companions fell away as he turned inward. What core truths lay buried beneath the layers of fear, disappointment, and expectation? Suddenly, a memory broke through the fog. His mother, a steadfast beacon through the storms of his childhood, reminding him of the strength that lay within surrender. True courage, she used to say, is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to dance with it. As the thunderclaps echoed ominously in the distance, a silent realization stilled his heart. He opened his eyes and looked around the gathering, his gaze locking with Miriam's. What if, he began slowly, his voice trembling with conviction, the essence of our burdens lies not in the weights themselves, but in our resistance to them? What if our shadows, when embraced, hold the key to our liberation? An electric silence hung over the assembly as his words lingered, awakening a shared recognition. The girl stepped forward, her expression illuminating the gravity of the exchange. Indeed, Eliab. By confronting our fears and releasing our resistance, we may unveil the hidden sanctuary of strength within. What if the act of surrendering to our fears, of allowing them to exist without the pressure to eradicate them, leads us to forgiveness? Not just of others, but of ourselves. Miriam nodded, her heart quickening at the thought. Perhaps forgiveness is not a singular moment, but a journey, a continuous dance between holding on and letting go. Can we acknowledge our pain while simultaneously inviting the light of understanding to warm our hearts? If we embrace vulnerability, might it not also lead us to rediscover the gifts hidden within our shadows? Johanna's eyes brightened with understanding. Could it be that our journey towards enlightenment isn't a quest to rid ourselves of darkness but rather an invitation to integrate the many facets of who we are? In this dance of wholeness, would we not emerge with a richer fabric of existence, interwoven with both scars and resilience? As the storm raged outside, the group felt the gravity of their revelations weighing heavily upon them. The girl raised her arms, her passion igniting a newfound energy within the assembly. Yes. It is in the acceptance of our entirety that we forge the path of enlightenment. Every fear, every regret must be cradled with compassion, allowing us to cultivate forgiveness organically rather than forcefully. A bright flash of lightning lit the night sky, illuminating the faces of those gathered and igniting an inner spark of determination. Eliab felt exhilaration coursing through him as he nodded in agreement. To embrace our fears and our grief, to allow room for forgiveness and vulnerability, is to truly understand ourselves. It's time to release the grip of self-judgment, to step fearlessly into the unknown together. As the winds raged, the group began to voice their commitments aloud, a collective declaration echoing through the valley. I release my anger, making space for compassion. One shouted into the tempest. I embrace my vulnerability, letting go of the chains of expectation. Another called, their voice rising above the cacophony. One by one, they shared their truths, their voices intertwining harmoniously, forming a tapestry of acceptance and shared journey. I choose forgiveness as my companion, and I release my fear of solitude. I abandon my need for approval, seeking only the truth within. As their affirmations mingled with the thunderous symphony of nature, something potent shifted within the assembly, an electrifying charge coursed through their hearts. They were no longer merely individuals wrestling with their darkness, they were a collective force, moving toward light and liberation. Together, the assembly stood united, eyes lifted towards the tempest that raged above them. They sensed a shift, as if the storm was not merely an external force but a reflection of the transformative current swirling within their souls. For in acknowledging their fears and embracing their vulnerabilities, they had found the courage to rise above that which once bound them. As the final echoes of their truth resonated through the quieting storm, a serene quiet enveloped them. In this sacred space, clarity dawned with the first glimmer of dawn. The assembly breathed deeply, feeling the lightness of spirit that arose from their surrender. With the silhouette of the storm giving way to the hues of morning, Eliab spoke once more, his voice steady and resolute. We have learned that to walk the path of enlightenment demands we abandon not just burdens, but the fears that trap us in cycles of suffering. And in this shared journey, we uncover the profound truth together, we illuminate the way toward healing. As sunlight broke through the clouds, casting warm rays upon their faces, they felt a gentle stirring of hope, a promise of renewal, of possibility. They were transformed. The burdens which had once weighed them down had been transmuted into stepping stones, each scar outlined in gold, a testament to resilience. Looking at each other, an unspoken understanding settled in their hearts. The journey of enlightenment was not a solitary endeavor. It was a shared odyssey, enriched by the shadows they carried, illuminated by the light of shared compassion. Together, they were the fire that would guide others on similar journeys ahead, and though the path would still hold its challenges, they now understood that true enlightenment lies not in the absence of struggle but in the courage to embrace life fully. Every shadow, every flicker of light, and every heartbeat resonating as one. As the dawn painted the horizon anew, each individual felt the weight of their experience transform into courage. Encased in the warmth of shared vulnerability, they stepped forward, ready to face the world free, empowered, and emboldened in their quest for deeper truth. And the quiet aftermath, echoed in the hearts of those journeying on, lingered the most profound revelation of all. The dance between surrender and strength is the heartbeat of life itself, guiding each soul toward a luminous awakening, an eternal journey of becoming.